The year was 1835. On a remote island off the coast of Southern California, the Nicoleno tribe lived peacefully. Among them were the two children of the tribe's chief, Karana, who was 12 years old, and her younger brother Ramo, who was only 6. One afternoon, the two of them were busy gathering roots on the hills. Suddenly, from afar, a foreign ship slowly approached the shore. Karana's heart started pounding. She immediately told Ramo to run and find their father, the chief. Ramo rushed off. Breathing hard, he reported what he had seen to his father, Chowig. Chowig, along with the strongest men of the tribe, went to the shoreline to meet them. The ship was led by a Russian captain named Orlov. However, among the tribe, Orlov was nicknamed Utop because he was known to be sly. Utop asked for permission to hunt sea otters in the island's waters and to set up a temporary camp. In return, he promised iron spears and jewelry. After discussing it with Kimki, Chowig added a condition. They also needed stone knives for every family. Utop agreed with a smile. The next day, a curious Karana asked her father why the outsiders were hunting otters. Chowig explained that otter skins were very valuable in their markets. Karana then expressed her dislike and suspicion. To her, the outsiders were cruel and couldn't be trusted. Chowig listened, then picked a berry plant. He said the fruit was poisonous, but the stem could be used as medicine. "The world isn't black and white, my child," he said gently. "The Creator made everything in pairs. There is good and there is bad." Even so, Karana still hoped the outsiders would leave soon.
And swallowed up by the sea.
I do not say this to frighten you, my child.
Karana's worries turned out to be right. After collecting many otter skins, Utop planned to escape without keeping his promise. Sensing something was wrong, Chowig immediately demanded what was owed. With a dismissive attitude, Utop handed over only a small amount of jewelry, without the spears or knives he had promised. Then, Utop pretended to order his men to retrieve weapons from the ship. That order was actually a signal. In an instant, everything turned into disaster. Utop shot Chowig dead. Cannons from the ship shook the land, killing many unprepared members of the tribe. The peaceful island turned into a place of mourning. Kimki, who survived, now replaced Chowig as the chief. Kimki decided to sail alone to the eastern mainland to seek help, especially from missionaries, to evacuate the entire Nicoleno tribe from the island. After a long wait, Kimki finally returned with a rescue ship. All the members of the tribe prepared to evacuate. They lined up toward the small boats. Ramo, who was about to board with Kimki, suddenly remembered that he had left behind his favorite spear. Without thinking twice, Ramo ran back to the shore. In the middle of the confusion and pushing, the boat was shoved into the sea. Karana, who had just realized her brother was no longer beside her, screamed for help. She begged one of the men to go back, but her request was refused. The sea began to open up between them. With her heart filled with panic and love for her brother, Karana made a desperate decision. She jumped from the boat and swam with all her strength toward the shore. Her body grew weak and she almost drowned. But in the end, Ramo's hands pulled her back onto land. The two children stood there, soaked and trembling, watching the boat drift farther away. They returned to the village, now silent, just the two of them. At that moment, they didn't yet know that Karana's decision to jump would change the course of her life. That night, in the stillness of the island, Karana couldn't hold back her anxiety. She shared her fear with Ramo, worried that the people who had left would never come back for them. Ramo, with the innocent confidence of a small child, tried to comfort his sister. "Kimki won't forget us," he said. Ramo was sure that help would come someday. Then, excitedly, Ramo talked about his plan for the next day. He wanted to go fishing by himself using a small canoe. Karana immediately forbade it. "You're still too young," she said, reminding him how dangerous the sea was. But her warning was not listened to. The next morning, when Karana woke up, Ramo's sleeping place was already empty. Her heart started pounding. Panicking, Karana ran around searching for her brother in every corner of their home. She went to where the boats were kept, hoping to find Ramo there. He wasn't. Her anxiety grew with every step as she searched around the island, until finally, the sight Karana feared most appeared before her. Ramo was dead, killed by a pack of wild dogs led by a large dog belonging to the Aleut tribe. With her heart shattered, tears poured uncontrollably. Karana buried her brother's body all by herself. Returning to the hut, which now felt unbearably empty, Karana cried without stopping. In the midst of her grief, she heard the sounds of the wild dogs approaching and entering one of the empty huts. Boiling anger drove away her sorrow. With her mind clouded, Karana burned the entire village. Karana saved a few of her important belongings, then left the ashes of destruction behind. She found a new place to take shelter. There, Karana repaired her broken bow. In her heart, a vow hardened. She would kill the Aleut dog that had taken Ramo's life. Once her bow was ready, Karana practiced archery diligently. When Karana felt confident enough, she took aim. The arrow flew and struck the dog, causing it to fall. But when she saw the creature lying helpless, instead of satisfaction, fear and panic filled her. Karana ran toward her boat, intending to escape this island forever. Unfortunately, she wasn't strong enough to pull the boat into the sea. Her plan completely failed. The next day, while searching for food, the dog appeared again and was about to attack her. Karana quickly readied her arrow. But the dog suddenly stopped. His eyes looked at her, as if surrendering. Pity slipped into Karana's heart. She abandoned her intention to kill him and instead came closer and pulled the arrow out of the dog's body. Moved by compassion, Karana remembered her father's teachings. She treated the dog's wound using the stem of a berry plant that had healing properties. After that, Karana went to the shore to collect the bones of a giant whale to fence off her shelter from wild animals. While Karana was looking for stones to block the door, the dog, who was starting to recover, suddenly entered her hut. Karana was shocked and frightened. "I built this fence to protect myself from you," she said as she tried to drive him away. But the dog refused to leave. In the end, reluctantly, Karana let him stay. To meet her daily needs, Karana began fishing regularly. She even made a simple fish trap so she could catch more. Because the dog had sharp eyes and looked like a fox, Karana gave him a name, Ranu. The days went by. One time, her food was stolen by seagulls. Annoyed, Karana told Ranu to guard the house while she went fishing. Out at sea, Karana heard Ranu barking loudly. Worried, she immediately headed back. On the way, Karana ran into Ranu running toward her. It turned out the dog wanted to join her and catch fish with her. One day, Karana finally figured out how to push her boat into the sea. She invited Ranu to come along, but once they were a little farther out, Ranu panicked and jumped back to the shore. To drive away the loneliness, Karana made a flute out of bone. When she played it, Ranu would listen and sometimes follow the rhythm, making Karana feel a little comforted. But one night, Karana heard the sound of other dogs barking in the distance. Ranu looked restless and eventually left the hut. Karana let him go. The next morning, Karana called out Ranu's name, but the dog never returned. While searching, Karana heard chirping and found 2 baby birds that couldn't fly yet. With Ranu gone, Karana returned to living her days alone. Before going fishing, she always took time to feed the mother bird. Slowly, the 2 chicks grew bigger. One day, the mother flew away and never came back. Karana decided to take care of them, placing them in a cage she made herself. Karana taught the 2 birds to imitate human voices. One day, they were able to call her name, Karana. The sound comforted her loneliness. One afternoon, while Karana was turning over her canoe, the heavy wood suddenly fell and crushed her leg. Karana was trapped, in pain, and helpless. At that moment, a pack of wild dogs approached, ready to attack. But just before they struck, a large shadow lunged forward. Ranu had returned. Bravely, Ranu fought the entire pack, driving them away to protect Karana.
Ranu.
Several years later, while Karana was busy gathering fruit on the hills, She suddenly saw the shadow of a ship approaching the shore. Her heart immediately started racing. Her memories went straight back to the cruel Aleut people. Quickly, Karana ran back to her hiding place, convinced that the otter hunters had returned. The next day, while Karana was playing her flute, she heard footsteps. It wasn't a large hunter, but a young woman named Tutok. Tutok had been assigned by her group to prepare food, and now she approached Karana's hut, gesturing to ask for drinking water. Karana gave it to her with a cautious heart. After drinking, Tutok nodded in thanks with a smile before leaving. Since they didn't understand each other's language, their communication was only through gestures. Karana was still filled with fear. Worried that her presence might put her in danger, she decided to temporarily move to another hiding place, bringing all her valuable belongings with her. From behind the rocks where she was hiding, Karana saw Tutok return. The woman placed something on a rock, then left. Curious, Karana came closer. It turned out to be a beautiful necklace. Carefully, Karana picked it up and put it on. Not long after, Tutok appeared again. Seeing the necklace already around Karana's neck, her face lit up. Tutok gestured that the necklace was indeed a gift for her. From that moment, a bond began to form. They slowly learned each other's words, building simple communication with great patience. Tutok really loved the sound of Karana's flute and often asked her to play it. Two days before the ship departed, Tutok decorated Karana's hair with beautiful ornaments. That sincere attention made Karana feel appreciated, a feeling she hadn't felt in a long time. When the day of departure came, Tutok invited Karana to go with them, to leave the island. However, the bitter memories of the Aleut people still lingered. Karana gently refused. Instead, she asked Tutok to stay with her on the island. Tutok shook her head, her eyes downcast. She still had parents waiting for her elsewhere. Karana understood. Before parting, Karana gave Tutok the one thing she valued most, aside from her memories, her bone flute. Year after year passed quietly. One day, after returning from fishing, Karana found a baby otter that had gotten lost, separated from its group. To fill her loneliness, Karana took care of it and fed it. But one afternoon, when Karana went to feed it, the otter had disappeared.
Ranu, I hope you did not think we... Ranu?
The days grew darker, and Ranu, her loyal dog who was now very old, looked weak and without energy. Ranu didn't even want to go home, just lay helplessly on the sand. Karana was forced to spend the night there, staying by Ranu's side while praying that her friend would survive. Sadly, age had claimed him.
Dogs, too. Mooka.
The next morning, Karana found that Ranu had passed away peacefully. Deep sorrow wrapped around her. The one loyal companion who had always protected her was gone. With a heavy heart, Karana buried Ranu near the grave of her younger brother, Ramo. After Ranu's death, the wild dogs began to dare to come closer again. At first, the desire for revenge was still there, but Karana remembered many things. Instead of killing them, Karana chose to throw them fish every day. Slowly, the hostility faded. Eventually, a puppy that looked very much like Ranu came often and always ate the food she gave. The puppy began following Karana wherever she went. In the end, Karana decided to take care of him, giving him the name Rontu Aru, which means son of Rontu. Several years passed. One day, while Karana was walking with Aru, she once again saw a ship dock at the shore. 3 strangers came ashore. Her instincts immediately went on alert, and Karana hid. But from a distance, she noticed their clothing. One of them turned out to be a missionary. They had come to take her away. After years of waiting, help had finally arrived. Karana decided to leave. She put on her finest clothing made from cormorant feathers, brought Aru with her, along with her 2 pet birds, Lurai and Tainer. At the Santa Barbara mission in California, a missionary told her news that shattered the hope she had held onto all those years. The ship that had once taken the Nicoleno tribe away from the island had sunk nearly 18 years earlier. That was why no one had ever returned to come for her.